All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we got ourselves a massive breaking news segment from Ubisoft announcing the creation of a new subsidiary company that is going to be partially owned by Tencent. They're going to have a 25% stake in this new subsidiary. And from what I understand, what they're essentially doing is they're selling without selling. Ubisoft cares about one thing and one thing only, and that's maintaining control of their company. And it seems like with this move with Tencent, that's exactly what's going to happen, and they also get saved and get money for their failures. So let's get into this article, guys, from Global Newswire. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So initially, the post says Ubisoft accelerates its transformation by laying foundation for a new operating model with the creation of a subsidiary and injection of 1.16 billion of cash from a selected investor known as Tencent. So Tencent has invested 1.16 billion dollars or euro, whatever, into the company, into this new subsidiary. And essentially what that does is it gives them a 25% stake in that subsidiary, with the rest belonging to Ubisoft, it seems. I don't see any of the investors named in this particular article. If there is any other investors, please let me know. But as of right now, all we know is Tencent is owning 25% of it. So it says this new subsidiary will focus on building game ecosystems designed to become truly evergreen and multi-platform. Backed by greater investment and boosted creative capacities, it will drive further increases in quality of narrative solo experiences and expand multiplayer offering with increased frequency of content release, introducing free-to-play touchpoints and integrate more social features. Now, Tencent loves their free-to-play games. I'm very curious how Tencent is going to try to rapidly change what is known from Ubisoft, and maybe in the future we'll get a free-to-play Assassin's Creed game. Who really knows? Or maybe a free-to-play Far Cry game. I don't really know. Maybe something on mobile. I really don't know. The point essentially is that Tencent having that 25% stake is pretty massive, because you guys got to remember that Tencent has a 10% stake in the actual company Ubisoft itself. So now they got 10% in Ubisoft. They got 25% in this new subsidiary. It's only a matter of time before this company does a hostile takeover. This transaction values the entity at a pre-money enterprise value of $4 billion, which is ironic because the value of this new subsidiary is higher than the value of Ubisoft itself. The binding agreement with Tencent follows the formal competitive process in exploring and assessing different strategic options announced earlier this year. Now, keep in mind, guys, here's the most important thing about this for both Ubisoft and for you to know. Ubisoft maintains full control over this subsidiary, even though Tencent has a 25% stake. Here is the breakdown of the deal itself. You got the relationship between the new subsidiary and Ubisoft Entertainment. The new subsidiary would include the teams developing the Tom Clancy Rainbow Six game, Assassin's Creed and Far Cry franchises, based in Montreal, Quebec, Sherbrooke, Sanguinet, and Barcelona, and Sofia, as well as the back catalog and any new games currently under development or to be developed. So basically, all the games prior that were made under these particular studios and that were made under these particular franchises are now going to be included in the back catalog. And then any new games that are currently being made or thought of or whatever are also going to be included as well. The new subsidiary will be granted by Ubisoft a worldwide exclusive, perpetual license in respect of the intellectual property and similar proprietary rights owned or licensable by Ubisoft in relation to Tom Clancy Rainbow Six, Assassin's Creed, and Far Cry in exchange for a royalty. So essentially, Ubisoft is going to be selling off these franchises to this subsidiary in the means of getting a royalty in return. They're going to be granted full rights, full license to these properties with this subsidiary. So this subsidiary is basically giving Tencent, who owns 25% of this particular subsidiary, is giving Tencent the license and the use to be able to do whatever they want with it. Now, to my knowledge, Tencent is not going to be involved in any actual development, if I'm not mistaken. But if they do decide to want to get involved in development at any point in time, they would do it through this subsidiary and have access to the rights for the game to be able to do it in the license. So here are the main terms of the binding agreement. Tencent would invest in the new subsidiary, which is headquartered in France and 100% owned by Ubisoft, immediately prior to the transaction. Specifically, at closing of the transaction, Tencent would invest a total amount of 1.16 billion for an approximate 25% economic interest in the new subsidiary that will be used to strengthen Ubisoft's balance sheet by significantly reducing its consolidated net debt position, accelerate the group's transformation, and sustain growth of selected franchises. After closing of the transaction, the new subsidiary will remain exclusively controlled and consolidated by Ubisoft. So they are going to have full control over this company, which begs the question, why did they bother doing this in the first place? Well, it's pretty obvious at this point. Ubisoft was hurting for money. Ubisoft needed a savior. Ubisoft was going on its way out. We all know this. So Ubisoft and the Guillemot family were very desperate to maintain control over their company. They didn't want to sell their company. This is why they went this route. They were going the route of essentially selling their franchises, right? Or selling the license and the access to these franchises in the means of giving royalties to Tencent for their money, in exchange for their money. That's what's happening here. Conditions precedent to the transaction: issuance of fairness opinion from Finexi acting as independent expert, completion of the carve-out to create the new subsidiary, and obtention of the necessary regulatory clearances. Ubisoft can unilaterally waive the issuance of fairness opinion as a condition precedent. Completion of the transaction is expected before the end of 2025. The new subsidiary would have dedicated leadership team supervised by a board of directors focused on enhancing creative vision and streamlining operations with the authority to make swift, high-impact decisions across development, marketing, and distribution to ensure these brands continue to evolve, attract new audiences, and deliver groundbreaking gaming experiences for years to come. Tencent would benefit from customary minority protection veto rights, as well as certain consent rights on the disposals of the important new subsidiary assets. Other provisions that related to Tencent shareholding in the new subsidiary notably include the following: a 5-year lockup undertaking on new subsidiary shares held by Tencent, unless Ubisoft no longer owns a majority of new subsidiary voting rights in share capital. Ubisoft may not cease to hold a majority of new subsidiary voting rights and share capital for a 2-year period. Customary share transfer provisions, including rights and a right of refusal to the benefit of Ubisoft, a right of first offer to the benefit of Tencent, tag-along right to the benefit of Tencent, and a drag-along right to the benefit of Ubisoft, subject to certain conditions, a call option to the benefit of Ubisoft, and put option to the benefit of Tencent in the event of certain change of control of Ubisoft approved by its board of directors, and to exercise price will be higher of the fair market value of the new subsidiary shares and the same EBIT multiple as that in the change of control transaction of Ubisoft, it being specified that for the call option, there will be a specific minimum price protection during the first 4 years following closing of the transaction with Tencent. So they are bro, what is going down is wild right now. It's amazing that people are still trying to tout Assassin's Creed as a massive success, because I'll tell it to you like this. If Assassin's Creed Shadows was a success, if Ubisoft was doing so amazing, they would not have to be selling off their IPs essentially to a brand new subsidiary. They would not have to do that, right? The fact that they are doing this just goes to show that they were desperately in need of money. They needed a savior. They needed a way out, and Tencent was going to be their way out while also not losing control over their company. So here's what's happening. At this point, the ball is in Ubisoft's court now. Now they got saved, right? They got saved with a $1.16 billion investment. Now the question is, what do you do with this saving, right? Obviously, they're going to have a new company. Essentially, they're going to have a new subsidiary. What is this subsidiary going to be called? I really have no idea. Nobody knows. I think they're going to be announcing it sometime soon on a call. Supposedly, according to this article, there's a call happening on today, so at 6:45 Paris time. So we're going to find out more information about this subsidiary, but I find it amazing that they announced this right before their investors call. They announced this right before that call that they had to tell everybody the truth about Assassin's Creed Shadows. They announced this and told everybody that, hey, this is what we're going to do with our video game IPs from now on. Now, you also got to imagine, too, it begs the question, what happens to the employees? As of right now, it seems like all of these studios are going to be involved. You know, the Montreal, Quebec studios, all these studios are going to be involved in the new subsidiary. They're going to continue making these video games for Tom Clancy, Assassin's Creed, and Far Cry, and the subsidiary is going to have ownership over that. So I wonder what's going to happen to these employees. Does Tencent have any say over that? Does Tencent have any say over some of the board of directors and who goes on the board? I can only imagine what's going to go down with this. I want people to realize that Tencent is taking over Ubisoft. It's only a matter of time. And I feel like right now, Ubisoft might have gotten saved by Tencent, but do not get it twisted. This is a strategic move by Tencent. They're not stupid. They know exactly what they're doing. And in a year or two from now, we're going to be exactly in this same scenario, where now this particular subsidiary could be suffering because of Ubisoft's decisions. And now Tencent's going to be like, well, we want a bigger stake. And before you know it, they're completely taken over. So Ubisoft unfortunately had to do this in order to save themselves. The company is definitely struggling big time right now, and time is going to tell what's going to happen as the ball goes back in their court. I just hope that Ubisoft doesn't fuck it up again. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.